Pete Gengler. It's March 20th, 1994, first day of spring. Today, what we refer to as the planing shop. It's been in the Gengler family for about 100 years, since my great-grandpa JP built it. And originally, he lived upstairs in this building right around 1900 with his family. Hard to believe right now, but that's what they did. Of course, it was in a little better shape then, too. We'll be going inside and we'll be looking at some of the woodworking machines that he used, and some of them are still on operation, so we'll be able to run them and show you how they work. We'll be talking to Margaret Gengler, his daughter, and learning a few things from her, hopefully. And we'll go inside and we'll look around from some other different angles and things like that.
I've been in here, but I used to.
This is the inside of the shop. A lot of the same old tools are here that were here for the last 100 years about. We're going to talk to Margaret now, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And Margaret, you want to tell us about yourself and what you remember about the shop here?
I used to be out here real often. Remember the shaving pail over here, and running the boards through the lathe there. It's not the lathe, but the plane that led it. And from as long as I can remember, I used to be out here. Right now, I am 84 years old, and I guess I'm the only member of the family left. And have a lot of good memories of our place here. And we used to get visitors from out in Illinois and from over across, and we used to like to come out here and see what was happening out here all the time. Play in the shaving pile there at Easter time. There was usually a shaving pile, and we would dig our nests into that shaving pile, and the Easter bunny would bring our eggs there, and that's what we looked for them in the morning. Now, is there anything else good I can say about it?
I imagine it was pretty busy around here with woodworking and things in the early days, huh?
Yes, there was a lot of that. And I'm trying to remember some of the names that I can't think of. Of course, I always think of Uncle Nick Gengler, and I think of Bill Fish, and I don't know if Nick Beck worked in here, did he? Who? Mickey Beck?
I imagine he did.
I think he worked here some. And there, Matt Timmish, did he work in here?
Beck Gengler.
Yeah. I mentioned Uncle Nick Gengler. I don't know if Matt Timmish worked in here or not. I can't think
there
of.
was Pete Fish.
Pete Fish.
Pete Fish too.
Yeah.
I don't recall him, but I expect I.
Walt Groven, he's on there.
Yes, I remember Walt Groven being
Walt
here.
was here.
Vic Rubbis, Herbert Frank,
Oh, yes, I remember them.
Savvy Peterson.
And Philip Blazin. Philip Blazin used to deliver the ice.
Oh, yeah?
They call him Blitz Blazin.
Blitz blazing, huh?
And
Why did they call him Blitz?
I don't know.
Was he pretty fast?
I don't know how he got that name, but he had it as long as I can remember, I think.
Blitz pretty good.
Yeah, it's Blitzkrieg. And I had something else on that I was going to mention. I don't think of it right now. Might afterwards.
Did your dad work out in here quite a bit too?
Yes, he did. And I remember Uncle Nick working here a lot. But Dad did a lot, especially if we had visitors. He would bring them out and show them how things were done. And he enjoyed that a lot.
Did you kids play around in here and get into a lot of trouble in the shop in those days too?
I guess we had to get kicked out once in a while. I don't remember too much about that, but I'm sure we got in the way once in a while.
Because I think I remember stories about Ray getting kicked out of here once in a while too when he was younger.
Oh, no,
You remember that?
Well, I used to go upstairs and tromp on the floor up there and all the dirt fall through the cracks down the guys' heads down here that they used to chase me out.
Well, I remember them being upstairs a lot.
Nick, do you remember coming in here and getting in trouble years ago?
Yeah, been thrown out of here plenty of times by Red Schmitz.
And I'm trying to think what we used to do.
Years ago, this shop was able to do a lot of metal work. Just outside of this window was a forge, and they heated all their metal and iron and worked on it in here on this iron countertop here. This is about, let's say, about 1.25 inches thick iron. And they could pound it into whatever shapes they wanted. This particular machine here is for cutting strap iron, for snapping it off. Got big jaws there where you put it through. A long handle for leverage. And drilling the metal pieces, the camelback drill press here was used extensively, and some of the drill bits and things that were used are kind of laid out here on the counter, as well as there's a rack of them here that's still full of all the bits and things that they used. The drill press here ran extremely slow for drilling real thick pieces of metal, even as thick as this piece of wood here. And if you want to turn it on, Nick, I will run it here just a bit.
This shows you some of the belt drive that drives them. It's all driven from a motor that's upstairs, and it's all connected with power shafts and such that actually drove several pieces of equipment. And we still use this up until now. We've been using this drill for when we have big jobs for metal. We use it because it really does a good job. This is a grinder that was used for sharpening the planer blades. That still works also. Here it shows you a little bit more of the way you could set the speed of the drill with different size pulleys or different size of sprockets and gears here. So you could get the proper speed for the drill so you could do the right job. Also, we have here as I mentioned before, the grinder, and this jig that's on here was what they used to set up the planer blades. They put the planer blades in this jig, and then that's how they got the proper bevel on the blade so that it would cut properly.
Piece that they did out of it. Here's the turning lathe that has the ability to turn a piece of wood as long as this counter is here. Probably the longest lathe around here even today. And here's a piece that had turned out. A short piece that was made for, obviously, who knows what, I don't know. And some of the tools to turn the pieces with are up in the rack there. Just above it there is a scale that was used to weigh the blades that went into the planer to make sure that the planer was balanced so it didn't fly apart when it ran at the high speeds that they run at. Over on this wall over here is a tool rack that was used for, or a bolt rack that was used for the various size bolts and nuts and washers and things that they use as part of their metalworking part of the shop. If you want to run that, I'll get it so it's running or whatever.
Is there a nail sticking out of that thing?
There we got the whole system of pulleys running again here, and this lathe also runs off of the same system that runs the drill and everything else. Dad's pulling a lever that throws it into gear right now, and that's normally when it was in operation they had a stick that they put between the wall and that board that he's holding on to, and that's what held it into place and held it in gear.
First of all,
This is the planer machine that some of the old fellows that worked here said that J.P. Gengler made. And if he did make it, he made it from parts from various companies. Here in the front there's a thing that says J.A. Fay and Company from Cincinnati, Ohio. Down below on the stand it has a date of 1878. I would imagine that some of these gears and the pulley works and the size of the pulleys run at the correct RPMs. So there's various sizes of gears and pulleys. The machine is, of course, is run at high rate of speed, and the bearings here are babbited lead. The machine, because it runs at high speed, and before there were bearings, like roller bearings and so forth, the shafts ran on a puddle of oil, which was enclosed by lead things clasping it. They're called lead babbiting. And as long as you kept oil in the oil boxes on either end, that lead would never wear out. So you had to continuously squirt oil into each one of these things. There used to be automatic oilers that stood up on here, but you never knew whether they were plugged up or not, so they took them off and hand oiled the ends there. This thing was babbited one time that I know of in my lifetime, and that was probably about 35 years ago. Up to then, it probably hadn't been babbited more than once or twice, if even that. I think now we'll run a board through it so you can see how it works.
I'm gonna send a board through the planer so you can see how it actually operates. Nick's oiling up the lead babbits right now, so we're ready to go. Putting the oil can back the same place it's been put for the last 100 years. We'll send another board through here so you get another
Margaret, let's
look
kinda
at it.
move over here just a little ways up here, up the hill a little.
Next, going to set the planer to do the other side of the board here, and that's where you adjust it, where he's turning the crank there. See a little marking on the side there where it tells you what the thickness of the board is that you're going to end up with. And give her another little shot of oil here.
What would happen to those oilers we had?
Margaret's back there looking on.
Remember what they looked like?
Got sold at the other side. Sure they left the box when they give you a nickel for it, probably. Shaded their own copper.
This big electrical switch over here is about as old as you can get also. It's filled with oil in the bottom of that big switch box there. There's several positions that you go through when you turn it on, and Nick will do that for you
The
now.
oil in there is to keep the contacts cool. I'll start it up here once then. It's gonna get a little noisy. Change the planer.
Dangerous. Say what? This is a all-metal cast iron rip saw, which has the ability, different blades, dado blades and so forth, that are all made part of the machine here. This machine is also run by belts. The belts happen to be off of it right now. Otherwise the belts would have been up there. And it has various cranks and things here to adjust the width from the guide and the speed of the saw and the height of it. And you could saw up to 3-inch plank on this thing. It was considered to be quite dangerous because of the speed that it ran at, and so they used to have a guard that was bolted onto the side there in case the blade flew apart, that at least somebody over there wouldn't get killed. I'll let that say. I guess they had to poke a hole in the wall here so some of the longer stuff could go through the wall when they ran it through for cutting off certain lengths of boards here that were too long to hit up against the wall. Off of this pulley up here was a belt that ran over to the far end over here where there was a tenon for doing screens. That machine happens to be gone right now. What else? This roller setup that's on the end of the planer, I had that made years, quite a few years ago, probably 25, 30 years ago, to prevent the board from whiplashing up and down as it came out of the planer. So one guy wouldn't have to stand there and kind of steady it. And these rollers that you see are wood, and they were made on our turning lay over there. And by adjusting this on this post, you could raise or lower it depending on the size, thickness of the board that went through. So one man could feed the planer without the board going up and down like this. So it saved one man, you might say, and did a better job. And it had made the planer run at a more even level pace there. So that's one of the things I changed here. That's about all for this over here. Used to be a gasoline engine sitting, I believe, just outside this window here that powered the belts before electricity. And I don't remember seeing it myself, but that is where it went in the shaft. Part of the machinery went through the wall. There you can see part of the shafting device up there. And it ran off of belts just like everything else here that powered all the machinery in here. That's been gone many, many years. This was another additional workbench. I'm not sure what they did over here exactly, but I see there's a clamp type vise on the end of the yet. There's another piece of machinery missing that used to sit right there. And that was a drill press that drilled square holes. It was sold some time ago. It was something that J.P. Gengler put together himself. It consisted of a drill press type of a drill that had like a square punch with a wood drill in the center of it. And as it pressed down into the wood, it drilled out the center and made the square hole for whatever they wanted, mostly for screens, where the tenon fit into the screens. They made screen doors, windows, and so forth here. I guess that's where your dad was. I think it only came to right here, the seam right here. I think that was as far as this building went one time.
You wanna put on there that they
I'm
lived
not sure,
upstairs?
I've kinda asked it.
Yeah, you might want to
It
put
could've,
on.
only come to that part, I don't know, but this plated stuff had to be here.
Ray, the upstairs though goes all the way to
See,
the back
there's a
end.
beam.
I guess it does.
There's
Ray?
a couple beams right here.
I think that was a
know that.
partition, I think it was for strength, but
But I think it went so far. And here's a stovepipe hole up here where we assume that this is probably part of the place where they lived before they put this machinery in here. That would have been for the heat for the house here where these people were born. And under here is a cistern for water, which provided them with water most likely from the roof of the building in the cistern. Here's a cistern underneath this. And they did live upstairs also. They used the outside stairs. The reason we say this is because of the flooring that's up here. It's tongue and groove flooring. And further on in the building, as we go down a ways, it changes it to plank flooring, which leads us to believe that this building was built to house people first, and as the machinery became available, it was added on either one or two additions on the end as machinery came available.
This will just give you another view of the workbench in the shop, the drill bits and the drawers, and you can see here the vise. Here's the metal shear that they used, cut small pieces of metal. Nick, maybe you want to go over and clip one off. There's one laying right there next to it on the right. A little piece of metal in there. Clip, and off she comes.
Nothing to it.
That's how they did it before they had acetylene torches. Here's an assortment of drill bits and everything that's laid out on the bench. Some of the shelves that they had things sitting on. Here's an old beam scale.
Used to be a vise here. In fact, that vise is at the other shop right now.
This is upstairs in the shop. This is where JP lived at first with his family, right around 1900 or just slightly before that. It's unbelievable to think, but this is where they lived. They had the heat downstairs, and I think there was 3 or 4 of the kids that lived up here at that time. After they built the house where my parents live right now, right next door to it, then they used this to store moldings and ornamental pieces of woodwork above the shop, keep them dry. Here you can see the motors that drive the planer. And this is the motor that drives the drill press and the turning lathe and the grinder. This is a view from in the northwest side. Front door of the shop, you might say. There's Margaret and my mother, Darlene. And here you see it as it connects on to the rest of the buildings, which is our processing plant down there, where the silver part of the building. The old chimney been hanging like that for 30 years that I remember.
The office was over here against this building, and he had, I don't know what he had at the bottom of the door, but he had rock for the frontage of it. And we enjoyed that a lot. I don't know how long that was ever before it was taken out now. That's all I could say about it.
How's it, John?